welcome to BJJ Mental Models. I am your host, Matt Kwan. Steve Kwan can't be here today. He's on a family vacation to Ucluelet, BC, but I am here with the famous Oliver Taza from TriStar Montreal. Oliver, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm here with the famous Matt Kwan.
Come on. Great to see you again. Back in town right after Nogi Worlds, and Oliver is going to be teaching a class tonight at On Guard, so I'm very excited for that. We should have a really great turnout. And last time the guys were super stoked on the lesson you taught. It was on open guard passing, and I actually wanted to have another lesson on open guard passing, but these guys were like, "Yo, Taza's got a sick guard. We got to ask." How does he play open guard? You know, all that snap down heist stuff that he was showing. That's sort of what I want to learn. So I think tonight we're going to be seeing what you do from the bottom.
Yeah, we're going to be working on putting pressure from bottom.
Yeah.
So awesome. How to get somebody to engage with you, how to get somebody to, give you something. Yeah. Sometimes they're just passive, not giving you much. They're not really engaging in your guard. Ways to, initiate that. So I'll probably be working with that, and I'm excited to roll with everybody. And then what's it called tomorrow? ITT.
Yeah, Island Top Team tomorrow. So we're going to go to Professor Rob Bernacki's school. We're all going to take the ferry over in the morning, and then Oliver is going to teach a workshop there, and catch the ferry on the way back. How long are you in town for? You're leaving
until Monday.
Until Monday.
Monday. Listen to this. My flight is at 5 p.m. and I gotta record an instructional that day with casting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A whole instructional?
A full instructional. How long did it take you to film?
It took a few sessions because sometimes, you could get lucky if you can hit it all on the first try, right? But sometimes you miss things or whatever. Do you have a game plan for that?
Yeah.
You do?
I have around 35 to 40 videos planned out, each one.
Okay, so you go home and you write it down on a notepad or whatever, and you sort of know you. See, for me, when I did my Berimbolo worm crab ride instructional, and I sort of structured it, and then I went and sort of did a mock shoot with Rob and one of my students, and then I realized holy fuck, this needs some major reworking, just because it wasn't it didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to on paper. And then it took a few times, but if you've got all your stuff sort of figured out and you know what you're going to do, hopefully you can get it all on one day.
So just a question, if there's anything you can advise me to prepare for the video, what would it be?
Don't say that was one thing I did. I've seen your videos before, and you are pretty good on camera. I always found that I would just say, and then Rob's like, stop fucking saying, dude, you sound like an idiot. And don't say don't say 100 times. One thing I would say, actually, I'll give you some advice is project your voice. Because you're a pretty soft-spoken dude. Okay. And Stefan will be like, just project your voice. He's really seasoned, and of course Stefan Kesting is a very famous internet jiu-jitsu personality, runs Grapple Arts, multiple apps. I have one with him, Rob Bernacki has one, and a few of his students they have apps with Stefan, and he's a veteran, so he'll be able to, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And you've been there before already, so you know where to go and everything.
Not just that, there's so what I plan on doing for this instructional, it's basically like a blueprint for outside heel hook, inside heel hook, and some single leg X things that I've taught many times at many seminars. So why I teach them is because if I want to go in depth into a specific guard or something more detailed, there are certain things that I'd like people to know, how to finish, how to position yourself for the saddle, how to finish the outside, how to roll through. So these things, people, the instructor can buy the instructional, go sharpen it up with the students. I come in for the workshop. We can dive into advanced stuff right away.
Yeah, get right into the even deeper details, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically I'm assuming it sounds pretty leg lock based.
Very leg lock based.
It's your take on leg locks and things that, problems that you've seen students run into and how you basically troubleshooting them. Yeah. And now you're giving them all that information. And then hopefully, so if people have you in for seminars, if they have this instructional, then you can go into even deeper layers of intricate details that you wouldn't normally be able to get at a seminar, because people are just kind of like, oh, what, some schools you go to, people don't even know what a heel hook is like, right? No. So you can't really share too much.
Exactly, man. Sometimes purposely, well, when I first started teaching, it was the case. I'd show way too much, and then I noticed that guys would mess up the move so bad.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you start losing that patience, you'll talk less, and then guess what? They're getting it better. Yeah. They're doing it better. You tell them less.
Yeah, no, it's true. You sometimes as an instructor, I'm sure you found, like, if you're teaching, less is more. Like, I find if I teach too much, I start like going down rabbit holes, and then people are kind of, they lose their focus. So sometimes it's way better to just keep things simple, and then they'll come across those problems on their own, and then they can be like, hey, what about this? I came across this problem. Oh, now I can give you that next piece of information because you have come across the problem organically, and it's just easier for them to retain the information, right? Cool.
I find that way also it's a good way to notice details you haven't thought of. So you might be doing things without thinking, but now you're going to teach it, you're saying the details that come to your mind. And then you go and you see everybody messing up the same. Like, I'll give you an example. For the roll through, for the outside, I notice people always end up with the guy turned away, no pressure on the heel, nothing. Yeah. So it's details that I didn't even know I was doing, but it points out in your game. Yeah. So when you see the same problem 5-6 times per seminar, and then you do that seminar 15 times, now that detail becomes clear to you. So it makes you better.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. It definitely will make you better. And just, I find that that's like when I'm learning, like right now, I'll talk about it more in a bit, but I'm really focusing on learning worm guard right now in the gi, which I know you just, right now Oliver's rolling his eyes and just like, maybe we'll stop recording. No, but seriously, like, I bought Keenan's lapel encyclopedia. Man, it's fucking legit. Like, it is. It's kind of a goofy way to grapple, but it's totally effective. And one thing I'm thinking when I'm learning it, when I'm watching the videos before I've even tried a move, is like, okay, what would be the most common mistakes that I would make? Like, what questions would I have if I could ask Keenan right now? And I'm imagining myself in a room showing people, and I think to myself, what are the things that people would do to make how would they get this wrong? And those are like the common mistakes that most people will come across. And that sort of helps me like remember certain key details, you know, like, oh, well, most people will, you know, the knee won't be above the other knee. So when you sweep the guy, he'll have like a frame. So you can't have that, right? That's a common mistake. So that's a really important detail that is now in my mind, right? So just like little things like that. What's the name? Do you have a name for your instructional?
Man, I don't know. I think I'm going to call it Living La Vida Taza.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're just going to go in and shoot and, you know, shoot what you've got. And then from there, you're going to make an instructional out of it with Stefan and just go ahead with it. Yeah,
that's going to be the first one. Stefan also, like, I'll get into a little personal detail. Stefan helped me a lot financially. I had a little issue with finances. So, you know, I went into business with the wrong people that ended up, you know, being like con artists, scammers. So that put me in a financial hole. And then Stefan, fucking legend,
really
comes through, helps me out and tell me, yo, we'll shoot an instructional, and then I'll clear whatever problems you have with it.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. I've learned a lot from him, just being connected with that guy through somebody named Richie Yip, who actually... he owns Infighting Vancouver, and Richie sort of set me up with Stefan, and it's such a valuable resource to know a guy like that, who, like, this guy will go down to the States and people will be like, I know exactly who you are, like, because Stefan, for those who don't know, kind of his claim to fame is, well, lately he's been doing instructionals with some really high level guys, but and focusing more on the conceptual approach to instructionals. But before, he catered a lot of videos to like beginners. So if you were new to jiu-jitsu and you type in like beginner jiu-jitsu on YouTube, he would instantly pop up. And he's pretty well known. So that's good. I'm happy that you're meeting up with him. And
mine is the mustache.
He got rid of it?
No, he didn't have it.
But now he does.
Now he does.
Yeah, it's a power play. It's handlebar mustache.
100%, man. I think it's very valuable to have somebody like Stefan around you. Because you see, like, dealing with him as opposed to dealing with other people. And I'm not saying, like, I'm perfect by any means. On the contrary, this is why I'm bringing this up, is because you notice how he follows through and how, like, sharp he is with everything he says.
Oh, for sure, yeah. No, absolutely. Like you said, he follows through. And the guy's such a good dude. Like, he is, he's super reliable, and he does what he says he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wicked, man.
That's definitely the kind of people I'd like to have around me more and more, you know, because guess what? Like, this will turn me into maybe more like him.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. And he's a really good connection to have out here on the West Coast. Now this is your second time that you've been in Vancouver, so and yeah, he's super busy. You've been teaching a lot and sort of meeting up with a lot of people in training and getting a taste of what the scene's like here. So that's awesome as well.
BC, man, is definitely one of the places that I never thought I'd like it that much, but second time I like it even more, and definitely 2020 plan on having. I'd like to come like every 3 months. I'd like to have a competition in the area, you know, somewhere on the West Coast, and come and train with everybody here, man. You know what I mean?
I saw that super camp that you had. Where was it? Toronto?
Yeah.
That looked sick, man. I was super jealous. That was right after you visited last time, right?
The week after.
I saw you were you staying with Ethan and Cam?
Cam.
I was like, fuck, I want to be with those guys training, get my ass kicked, because that's a sick room, yeah.
Man, like, for that, the training is sick, but also the connections you make. So at that camp, that's where I met the Rory McDonald.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's from Kelowna.
He's Kelowna? Is that here?
Yeah, that's here. That's in the interior.
Okay. But anyways, like, this led to, you know, doing a quintet. And I was just talking to him today. We're going to bring that here to BC, hopefully.
Awesome.
You know, like, we'd love to have, man, there's so much jiu-jitsu. People like it so much here, and then it's just...
Oh, I know. It's blowing up. Like 10 years ago when I started training, it's crazy. Like, you know, there was only a few schools, and the tournaments were really like, not very well run. And now it's like everyone's striving to be as professional as possible, and gyms are really stepping up and like bringing in like high level guys to do workshops and stuff like that. So definitely there is a scene in BC that's like, it's exploding out of control. And I think the main reason why that is because jiu-jitsu is just so real. Like, it's not like a traditional, I don't want to shit on traditional martial arts, but you know what I mean? Like, things like Taekwondo is like falling on the back burner because it's now that the UFC's around, you're like, well, in a real fight, what if I just grab you, right? Whereas jiu-jitsu has that longevity, I feel. Like, that's why I felt super confident opening a school, is because I was just like, well, I know that this sport ain't going nowhere, you know, like, it's just too legit to go anywhere. So I felt totally confident investing in something like that. And then now, as you can see, it's getting so popular locally and internationally. So
you started your school at what belt?
The day that I opened the school, I got my brown belt.
Damn.
Yeah. So that would have been August 1st, 2015. Yeah.
Something about people opening up gyms and getting a lot better through like instruction.
Yeah, no, you know, it's funny. I don't know if you listen to the Matt Burn podcast with Keenan and Hanger. Do you listen to that at all? I
have listened to a couple of episodes.
It's not like our podcast. Usually we break down like conceptual stuff, but they basically just like shoot the shit, talk about current events in jiu-jitsu and things like that. And yeah, Keenan was talking about how it's interesting how, you know, the old cliche is once you open a school, you get shittier because you're surrounded by new guys, and you now, you know, your level goes down because you can't focus on yourself. But Keenan was mentioning that all the best guys in the world who have opened their schools went on to do great things and only improved, like JT Torres and I believe Hodger Gracie, and these guys like really started, you know, well, they're already on the map, but like really accomplishing a lot of stuff after they opened schools. And and one of the reasons he said is because you kind of it really puts the emphasis on yourself to be the best you can be. And now it's like, well, I have shares in this. I have you know, my livelihood depends on this now. So I want to do the best job I can, as opposed to just an athlete who's just training for himself. Right. And like you said, when you teach people, you become a better instructor. You understand jiu-jitsu better, I find. Right?
Yeah, I agree with you. Brawley was telling me the same thing. He went down from Brazil and was training. When he double golded at ECC, he was training with white belts, blue belts. Yeah. That's insane. That's insane. And sometimes I teach workshops at, like last night, I was training at a place where the level wasn't like necessarily the highest, but you still get to work and figure things out and try things. And, you know, you're rolling at a slower pace, but you're figuring out and trying things a lot more.
Yeah, you think more, right? That's what I found too. And I've mentioned on previous podcasts about how like I've been super lucky that guys have with already experience have come to my school. So I wasn't just flooded with white belts like a lot of people were, but I'm very fortunate for having like colored belts coming and training with me or whatever, mostly because of my competition experience in the area. There's not a lot of guys who have done as many competitions or whatever, but I've been super lucky that way. And I've noticed that I've probably never improved as much as since I opened my gym, like as opposed to my first, what would it be, like 7 years of training just at an academy and not having my own academy. I've definitely in the last few years made like way bigger advances now than I did back then.
Man, that going back to the camp you were saying, we'll probably try to organize one here.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. And that the idea of a quintet tournament is really cool too. I've done a few, like, I haven't done EBI, but I've done a few EBI style tournaments. I've never done like a quintet tournament, and that sounds really fun.
Yeah. The team aspect makes it like, how can you explain it? It makes it less about you.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll just take things, I'm not saying you'll take it lightly, but you'll take it less seriously and you'll enjoy it more. You have a team.
It seems like it's more enjoyable. And but you know who didn't enjoy it? Did you watch that last one? Cub Swanson fought Jake Shields. Did you see what happened to him?
I saw the picture today. Didn't look good.
Apparently, I heard it was a complete ACL tear. And like all he had to do was turn.
Yeah, crazy.
And you know it's like quintet doesn't allow heel hooks. Like the quintet tournament, I'm assuming the one that you would bring would probably allow heel hooks.
The one here, yes.
Yeah. But that one, the quintet, doesn't allow heel hooks. But they allow reaping. So it's like Jake Shields puts Cub Swanson in a single leg X, he reaps over top, and instead of turning and going with it, knowing there's no risk of heel hook, instead Cub Swanson just decides he's going to straighten his leg, and Jake just says, okay, I'm just going to clamp down on the top of your leg, and his leg bent completely sideways. It's disgusting, yeah. It's like, why don't you just turn? It's stuff like that why reaping is so frowned upon at the IBJJF level, in their category or whatever. But it's really not dangerous if you turn with it, right? It's certainly not that dangerous if there's no heel hooks, because what attacks are you really going to do from there, Like take the back or
exactly
belly down ankle lock, maybe? Like it's not even really a threat,
Not really, man.
If you're in base. So
I don't know, man. Maybe his competitive side, or maybe his like MMA base and not wanting to concede. I don't know what's his grappling like. Cub Swanson never really.
I don't know either. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because you just did Nogi Worlds, and I know it wasn't the result you wanted. Did you have 2 matches?
2.
Because shitty Flow Grappling, I can only see 1 match. And Flow Grappling's done this to me once too. I did ADCC trials once on the West Coast, in the same building that you just did the Nogi Worlds, and I had like this crazy helicopter armbar in the first match. It was in like 30 seconds, and then I lost to Satava in the second fight by points, and then I go on Flow, and I can't find that fucking finish, and it's like they own that, but they don't have it. And the same sort of thing happened to you. Like you knee-barred the guy, I heard, right? The first match?
Yeah, first match.
And it's gone now.
I don't know where it is. I tried to get in touch, haven't heard back from them yet. But it's okay, honestly. Like the second match is the one I'm paying attention to a lot more, and paying attention to obviously technical aspects.
Yeah,
more than the refereeing or whatever went on.
Do you care to chat about that?
No, absolutely not, man.
Yeah. So I was watching that match, and I believe it was against Sebastian Williams. Rodriguez Williams, I think his name is. Anyway, sounds like a Brazilian guy. But anyways, he I noticed a few times in the match there was like certain things that you did, you did a lot of backstepping, but the issue with that in the IBJJF is there's limited attacks from the saddle, right? Now I know you play a combo where you'll backstep into the saddle and then you'll go back into the knee cut, right? Like you kind of throw the guy off. But I saw you mostly go for it was almost like your leg pummeling, and then that ref in particular I found really didn't give you much time. Like he literally gave you the bare minimum of 30 seconds in the double guard pull before he stood you up and penalized you, right? Was that something that kind of threw you off? You wanted a little bit more time to leg pummel and look for that?
So 2 things. First thing, mixing up between the backstep and the knee cut is definitely something I was looking for. What I should have been looking for more is switching from the leg I'm going to tap for the backstep in the secondary leg.
Yeah.
Because that would have opened things up a bit more.
Like an ankle lock on the secondary leg.
Ankle lock, or going single leg X, passing it, going back to the saddle on the other leg. You know what I mean? Leaning back, passing that foot across, and you have like kind of a leg drag position.
Yeah.
That will get things going. The second thing I really didn't like about my performance and that second match is me being a mathematician, man, and counting advantages and everything. Because when you're competing, you don't have time to be thinking about these things. So I'll tell you what happened. One of the X guards attempts that I had,
Yes.
he dropped, and then he stood back up.
Yes.
I'm 100% sure I thought I had seen him give me an advantage or give him a penalty. Anyways, for me playing the points, advantages, and counting all that, I didn't really focus on what I could have been doing technically, like passing his guard, threatening submissions.
Yeah.
Something I don't usually do is like sit there and play the advantages and all the penalties, and it bit me in the ass, man. So
you think you thought about the scoreboard too much?
too much.
See, I watched that match, and I think I know the instance you're talking about, because you had the leg and you came up and you actually swept the guy, but then I think you let go of his leg and he popped back up. And you did get an advantage, I believe, but if you had just held him down for 3 seconds, they would have given you the 2 that possibly could have won you the match, because you lost by 2 points.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, like I just watched it today actually for the first time, and I was like, fuck, that was it right there. Like that, and it's so close that if you miss that opportunity at that level, real good chance you're not going to get that opportunity back. Right? No. I find something that helped me out so much, and I've talked about it in previous episodes, is refereeing. So I started refereeing at local tournaments, like the IBJJF model or whatever, and it really has helped me understand like when you get points, what you can do, because there's a few times where you sort of had a single and it looked like you were going to finish, but you drove the guy out of bounds, or the guy kind of just happened to step out of bounds, and sort of that like guys win titles on that strategy where they like sort of dilly-dally around the edge, and then if you get taken down outside, it's like, oh, at most it's an advantage, you know, unless they're fleeing, which that guy was like kind of, but not really fleeing, you know. Like so one thing for me is like map presence wise, like if you had that single and then instead of driving him out, dragged him back into the middle, right? So it's just like little experiences that you can pick up from mistakes. Like I've made that mistake before, lots of times.
Awareness, definitely. JT was watching with Mo. They came down to watch, but JT was cornering. He told me the same thing. He's like, should have pulled him back in.
Yeah.
Should have pulled him back in and just be a little more aware of, you know, the mat space and all that. On
a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you think that your understanding of the IBJJF rule set is? Like, is there any gray areas at all, or do you feel like you fully understand like all the rules? Because for me, I'll be honest, like right now I'm sitting at like probably an 8, and I've studied a lot of it. And before, all up until brown belt, even after brown belt, I basically just went into tournaments and rolled. And like I had a strategy, but like no real understanding of how to play the system, you know? Yeah. And only now that I've started refereeing, I can really like spam the system out to do what I want, you know?
I hear you. My understanding of IBJJF rules, man, clearly not good enough. You know what I mean? There's definitely some gray areas with, I'd say so IBJJF, if you are standing and he ends up in turtle, that's 2 for you?
Sorry, say that again. So you're standing and he pulls guard?
No, so we're wrestling.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I start to get around you, you're in turtle.
Yeah.
Is that 2?
Well, how did it happen? Did he initiate a shot?
I say an arm drag.
You arm drag him to turtle.
You arm drag him with a foot sweep, and then you end up almost taking his back and he's in turtle.
That would be, well, if he's got 3 points of contact on the mat, I believe it counts as a takedown. But if he posts up on 4, like on hands and feet, and you go to the back, I think it's an advantage.
Okay.
He has to be down on his knees, I believe, to get to count it as a takedown.
Okay.
There was a time. God, I hope I'm if there's anyone out there who's listening and I'm wrong, they're gonna be like, what the fuck, you said you knew that shit. There was one instance I saw where you were on the bottom and the guy kind of like fell back into guard, but you were on your knees when you came up. So I don't know if you were expecting a 2, but if you come up from your knees, they don't count it as a sweep.
No.
And I was watching and I was like, oh, maybe that's why there wasn't like a sweep there, is because it didn't initiate from you on your butt. You know what I mean? Like if you're on your knees and you manage to take some guy down, like Nicky Rod style, it doesn't score because it's not considered a guard or a takedown. It has to be standing to be considered a takedown, or you have to be like seated or in some form of guard, right? So there's so many gray areas that can happen in IBJJF that like I find that it's the person who understands the rules better that has like the best chance to win.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you said, like a lot of it is not really about fighting. It's about just playing the system, playing the points to the best. Just like any like football game, any basketball game, like you're going to use your timeouts at the right time. You have to strategize in such a way that it works out to your favor. You can't just go in there and bang. I have a buddy who went down for brown belt, and he came in and rolled with me like a week before the tournament, and I was doing really well with him, and just like he was going for like rolling kimuras and just ending up on the bottom. I'm like, dude, you got worlds in a week. Like, what are you doing going for rolling kimuras and letting me come up? Or he would grab my foot and sit down for an ankle lock, and I'd just come up, and I'm like, right there, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is not a good strategy.
Exactly.
And then after he actually flying triangled the dude, and then the next match he lost on points, I believe, and then he messaged me. He's like, man, you were right. Like, fuck, that wasn't the right strategy for that. Like, nobody cares if you were exciting. That's the thing, right? Like unless you're Gary Tonin and you're pulling this crazy shit off at the highest levels, like no one cares if you're exciting. Mm-hmm. They care about when the time runs out, who's ahead on the scoreboard, right? And that's just like the unfortunate truth about the point system, which I still think is really good, but I see why people prefer like sub-only style as well.
For sure, man. I think different rule sets will encourage different skills. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned, IBJJF, if you fall back on even if it's legit submission and he comes up on top, at most you get an advantage. If you compare it to like ADCC, you fall back on a good ankle lock, guy defense a bit, he comes up, it's not a 2.
Yeah.
Because you initiated the action.
Yeah. There's definitely some things about ADCC that I like way more. Like, you don't need to be in a guard to score. Like, if you're just in bottom position and you get on top, no matter, like, even if it's side control or mount, like, you still get your score.
Yeah.
And the lack of advantages I also really like in ADCC. But ADCC definitely favors, like, a grappler who understands wrestling and has takedowns, as opposed to IBJJF. You can literally win world titles without doing a single takedown, right?
Exactly. And then, so if you're doing specific training for IBJJF, let's say, you can be working things like guard pulls.
Yeah.
Like slapping hands, first guy to score, guard pulls allowed. As opposed to, like, let's say we were talking off air about EBI.
Yeah.
You're working your back escape, back attack, armbar defense, armbar attack. So depending on the competition, you're developing different skills more than others. You know what I mean? And depends on, what you want. Certain things you'll work are maybe a little more useful than others. Yeah. I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, well, for sure. Like something like ADCC, if your plan is to pull guard, I mean, probably not going to be too successful because these guys are going for takedowns and they're expecting to get into crazy wrestling matches, right?
Yeah.
Like that last ADCC, I loved watching Canuto and Gary. That match was just fucking sick.
Insane, man.
It's insane. Like, I'm watching them fly around. I'm like, how are they not just like getting injured? Well, they probably did get injured a little bit, but like some of those exchanges are just nuts. Like you train with Gary quite frequently, right?
Every time I go, I try to get at least 1 round per session with him.
But I imagine he doesn't train like that, eh? Like, that's competition, Gary, and that's a little bit different from how he acts in the training room.
Man, training with Gary is it's not very, like, when you finish the round with him, you'll feel like you got a lot done in 1 round. You got a lot done because there's not a lot of resistance. There's a lot of flowing.
He flows
at a high pace, and it's very technical.
Yeah.
And then it's constant attack, counter, baits. So you feel at the end of the round, I got a lot done. I worked on a lot of things. I worked a lot of counters. I worked a lot of defense. I worked on, your brain is fired up at the end. As opposed to if you're rolling with somebody who's just trying one pass on you the whole round, and you're defending that one pass and you don't want to give him anything.
Yeah.
It's
like a competition style roll.
Yeah, you'll feel like you got more tired, but you didn't get as much accomplished.
Yeah. Now Gary's even said publicly that like he gets submitted a lot in each round. He's not afraid to tap, and
No.
that probably explains why he's so comfortable in such bad positions. Is because he puts himself in these bad positions,
100%.
right? In order to gain. Did you watch him fight Davi Ramos?
Yeah, man.
That fight was nuts.
Yeah.
I'm watching him, and I know how sick Davi is, right? Like he probably he surprised Lucas Lepri a few years ago at ADCC, right?
Yeah.
Like if he didn't get that armbar, who knows how that match would have gone? Lepri is like really sick, but he flying armbars Lepri while Lepri's seated and wins the title that day. But like Gary, he exhausted him, and he made him like Gary's wrestling. He was just shooting in for high crotches at will. And singles, like
From guard.
From guard and getting wherever he needed to go, and finished on his back basically with a full choke in and arm body triangle, and then the time runs out, which is kind of bittersweet. But it was so one sided. Like Davi had nothing for him.
It's that pressure from bottom he was putting. Pressure from bottom and also pressure from wrestling. Feinting, pushing, pulling, snapping. Just moving him the whole time. Davi's a big guy, man. After a couple of minutes,
he's huge. He was way bigger than Gary that fight.
He'll fatigue them. Same thing with Palhares. Gary did similar strategy, move a lot, just attack high, a lot of volume. Yeah. And then see that's how he trains, man. He trains. There's a lot of volume. There's a lot of movement. It's a very it's very friendly way of rolling. You'll not rip on anything.
That match is probably my favorite match of all time. Yeah, dude. It's such a sick match.
You can watch it a million times. You'll never get bored.
Like, if I have friends that don't know what jiu-jitsu looks like, I'll be like, okay, this is the match for you to watch. Like, watch this match. This will make you like jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Or show them rooster weight finals, IBJJF Worlds Gi, and then they'll be double guard.
Yeah, they'll just sit there. Unless it's Musameki, who somehow like gets these ankle locks in 8 seconds and stuff. Have you ever trained with that guy?
No.
Mikey? I know Gordon just trained with him, right? And he said he was insanely good.
In the gi, I believe he won Worlds, 3 years in a row, 2 years in a row now?
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was 3 or 4. And the guy's only like 21, 22, something like that.
20, goes to school.
Full-time student. Like, clearly he's very smart, and Mikey Musameki also has like a very interesting body type. Mm-hmm. Like, he's got a long torso, as to my understanding, but really short limbs. Like, he's always in that weird squat position that he just sort of like chills in. I just refer to that as the Chinese guy smoking on a break position, where they're squatting and smoking. But he's a freak, right? And he's got these like nutty ankle locks that he's doing. So I don't know. You don't see him in no gi too much though. Like, he's pretty much exclusively a gi guy from what I've seen.
You're seeing more and more people like that, man. You see
specialists.
Nicholas Marigali. I've never seen him. There's Levi.
Never seen him in the gi.
Have you seen Levi in no gi?
Never. No.
Gordon, I haven't seen him in the... He's done gi, but in a long time I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more guys like maybe specialized. I'm not saying the majority, but we're seeing more guys.
So, like, what do you think of these, especially with the Danaher guys? Like, Gordon's a big example, but guys that are now doing, wrestling versus grappling style matches and things like that. Like, I think Pat Downey and Gordon are going to do, it's actually 2 matches, isn't it? Is that how it works? Or it's 2 rounds? Like, 1 round is grappling, the other round is, like, a modified wrestling rule?
Yeah, I watched Bo versus Gordon. I felt bad for Bo a bit, man. Cause, like...
Well, yeah. I mean, it was... Except for when he fucking... suplexed Gordon on his head.
Good. Part of me was happy to see Gordon getting suplexed, man.
It was a smart strategy because, like, Gordon's not allowed to pull guard.
Yeah.
But Kani Basami is, like, it's just enough that it's a takedown, but it's also, like, something that a wrestler won't be used to. And he's just baiting the single and then did a Kani Basami. And that's how Gordon scored on him, right? I think Gordon scored on him with that.
He didn't finish the takedown, but he got pretty close.
Right. And then he got suplexed. But didn't he tie up the... I can't remember. I thought it was 2-2.
I'm not too sure, man.
Yeah, I don't know. But then he that's how he actually, that's how he got to the ground, I believe. Like, he took the hit for pulling guard, I guess, but then he knew that he would be able to triangle.
The rule set, in my opinion, should be different. There should be something that, it gives the wrestler a bit more of an advantage and, like, incentive to take down. Like, if I'm Bo, I'll be doing the same thing. Why would I want to take this guy down? Once he goes down, he's gonna
stall
choke
him
me.
out. That's all you can do.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it should be like, okay, you take him down maybe within the, you gotta hold him for 3 seconds. Gordon has 3 seconds to, get some kind of entanglement going, upper body, lower body, whatever it is, and then stand them back up when it completely separates.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like for Bo, I'm gonna take a guy down who's gonna choke me? No.
Do you think that they're making these matches because they want there to be like more wrestlers that have eyes on jiu-jitsu and vice versa, more jiu-jitsu guys that get introduced to these high-level wrestlers, or like, because when I first heard these matches, I'm like, well, I know why Gordon's doing it. I'm assuming he's getting paid a little bit, right? But like, really, what's the point of doing this? Like, you're not seeing the highest level jiu-jitsu guy go against the highest level jiu-jitsu guy. You're seeing the best wrestler versus the best jiu-jitsu guy, but there's like you say, the rules kind of favor the jiu-jitsu guy more.
More, yeah.
Like, it's really hard to make it even, right?
It's hard to make it even. I think exposure is good. It gives wrestling a bit more exposure. I mean, maybe money is good. I think Gordon's going up against Gaudio, and to be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing that match a lot more than if he's going against Downey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We saw Nick Rod go up against Bad Downey, and it was 10-0.
Yeah.
After like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's levels, levels to wrestling, levels to jiu-jitsu, and then people like to see the top guys in their own sports going up against each other. Is there a benefit to mixing up sports? It's good, but the rule set's going to be like, guys going to have to negotiate the rule set.
Yeah.
And pick it.
Like, obviously, if a wrestler goes against a guy like Gordon, or even like you, and there's leg locks involved, it's kind of like, it's kind of a mismatch, right? Because if you don't know leg locks at all, you're going to get caught. Like, I get caught with leg locks, and I somewhat understand them, but like a wrestler has no idea what it's like when someone grabs your leg and tries to finish you.
Not at all. He's not training for that. He's got the Olympics coming up.
Yeah.
Next year he's got trials coming up. He's not going to go out of his way and do a session and work on his guard passing and work on his butterfly sweep. So
yeah.
I don't know what. It's interesting, man. It's good to try. I mean, any idea you have, you gotta try it. You gotta play around with it, see it, and see how people react to it. Because if you don't try it and it's a good idea, you'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a bad one, you'll know.
Yeah.
And then you kind of try to take people's feedback, be open minded, and see. I know they're adjusting the rule set a bit for next one, so hopefully it's gonna be a little more even.
Nice.
And make it less of a freaking feeding a wrestler to the sharks.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know, man. I kind of felt bad for Bo.
Yeah. Well, I think anytime anyone goes against Gordon, it's like you're literally going against like the best no-gi guy in the world. Yeah. So it's like, it's not like it's like some B-level guy. It's like the Wayne Gretzky of jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of always going to be a mismatch. But it's interesting to watch. I think it's crowd pleasing, and like seeing a guy like Gordon get suplexed, it was kind of crowd pleasing.
Yeah, there's these, but I like the direction. The other direction sports taking is team events. I think that's the thing that people should be doing more often. Mm-hmm. Instead of mixing sports, is do team events, man. Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to competing myself on it in February and seeing how is it as exciting as it is or as it looks. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good direction to take.
Yeah, you've never done a team event, right?
No, I've watched what's the name, 10th Planet versus Polaris.
Yeah.
How epic was that?
Yeah. No, it's fun, man. I also like the idea of a team event. It's pretty sweet, and it's basically like an absolute event almost, because you could get depending on the draw, you could be going against the biggest guy, right?
Yeah. And then also what you can do at your gym, you could be doing trials for that. Yeah. So it's like a story. There's like a storyline behind it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
No, that's awesome. I hope it comes here, and
we're gonna try to bring it down, and not only that, we're getting some good sponsors to back it up, some good platforms to give it exposure. Mm-hmm. Trying to get some good super fights. Trying to get Craig on the one in February. Mm-hmm. You gotta message him about it.
Craig Jones?
Yeah, Craig Jones coming to Canada to compete. It's like he doesn't do it. So imagine if we can.
Here, can I be on his team? I don't want to fight him.
I want to be against Craig.
I really don't want to be against Craig. Yeah. But no, that would be an honor to just get my ass kicked. I'll try and just stall him out and just not get fucked up.
You can survive, and while attacking,
that would be a win.
Yeah, exactly. The rules are cool. They don't allow heel hooks in the actual quintet, but I mean, I'm sure we can mix things up.
For sure.
Mm.
So you're good.
Yeah, in Ontario, we're not allowed because for some reason, man, the organization, I don't know how it works, but they don't allow it.
Yeah, they don't. Isn't it just like they see it as like too violent of a combat sport? Is that what it is? Or
In Ontario?
yeah,
I mean, jiu-jitsu is legal, but there's like Ontario Jiu-Jitsu Association, then there's Ontario Grappling Association. It's like, who came up with these two things?
yeah, I don't know.
Who came up with these? Who decided, all right, we are, you and I now are going to open the BC Jiu-Jitsu Association. We're going to come up with our own rules. How did that come up?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it legally binding?
What do you mean by binding?
Well, like, do they have laws that the government enforces? Like, you're not allowed to have, like, let's say, tournament with heel hooks and stuff like that legally?
Yeah, but how did the person in the government be like, yeah, heel hooks in particular are not good?
Yeah, well, I can see that because they probably talked to, like, IBJJF or something, and IBJJF said, yeah, that's the most dangerous move. Joe Rogan says that, you know, you don't feel anything and then your leg explodes, all that shit, right?
Yeah, or the person running that's trying to, push a certain brand, and, you know, it's just, I feel like it's okay, man. Like, there are things you can do other than heel hooks, but, you know, why not teach people heel hooks instead of just avoiding them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why not teach them?
Well, exactly, right? And I think now that, like, there's some really quality instructionals on leg locks and stuff coming out. Like 5 years ago, there was almost nothing, and then all of a sudden there's this explosion of leg lock instructionals. There's the Danaher one, there's my Professor Rob's, there's Craig Jones, he's got a few, you're working on one, like tons of different stuff. The material is out there now.
Yeah.
So people know sort of the concepts and stuff. But like I remember right when Gary was sort of becoming very popular and he was hitting people with all these leg locks, we're like, what the fuck is he doing? Like I have no idea what he's even doing, right? Cheating, yeah. Well, that's what Helio thinks, right?
Yeah. I'm sure they were working on heel hooks before. I've seen a video in black and white of Helio hitting a heel hook, man, and outside.
I think they used to be allowed in IBJJF actually in the gi back in the day, like it was legal. But nowadays it's like I don't know. I don't know when they became illegal or how that happened. That'd be interesting to learn about.
Probably some gringo went down to Brazil and leg locked everybody.
Probably. It's Dean Lister's fault.
Dean.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because you're a very seasoned competitor and you just competed, do you get like nervous? Do you get adrenaline dumps and things like that during the match? And like how do you cope with something like that? Because you look pretty calm out there.
Pretty relaxed, honestly.
Yeah.
I think usually you get super nervous before, then you have the adrenaline dump after. That's normal for everybody. The more you're going to compete, you probably agree with me, the less it's going to happen.
Yep.
I think...
Or just the more you can manage it, I find.
Yes.
Yeah.
The more you can manage it and kind of channel that energy in a different way. Now, the one thing that I feel like, no matter how much you compete, the place where it's always going to keep improving is during the match. It's being able to think and rationalize during the match. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like making decisions midway through the match.
Yeah.
It's very easy after when you watch a match, like, fuck, I know this thing. Why did I not do it?
I know, it's true.
Why did I not pull this move off? Why did I do that? Why did I sit on my ass and count till 30? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these things, I feel like the more you compete, and then competing regularly also, these things will come naturally. You know what I mean? They'll become more and more second nature. Less and less, oh, why didn't I not do this? And we're like, oh, damn, I did this. That's good. I wasn't really thinking about it, but it worked out. Like
I find when I'm driving to the tournament the day of, that's when I feel like real nervous, and I'm like, okay, I know I've been here before, but still, like I got those butterflies, and then it's time to get changed, and you're warming up, and you got to do like 100 pisses, and you're fucking warming up, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this again. Then by the time I step on the mat, usually I feel the most calm once the match has started because my brain is preoccupied in decision making as opposed to like thinking about like, oh, what could go wrong and what do I have to do and who am I fighting and all this stuff. Do you check like you probably know who you're fighting most of the time, but like Nogi Worlds, did you look up the bracket first and sort of see who your first fight was, or do you study that opponent?
What I did, to be honest, the week before is I looked at the people that are registered. Who's registered? Who do I know? Who do I not know? Mm-hmm. Doing your homework a bit. Yeah. You don't want to just say, oh yeah, whatever. I don't want to. Man, somebody. If you know somebody, you kind of know their games. It's good. You can kind of have an idea of what to expect. So yeah, definitely, man. When there was ADCC coming up, I looked.
Well, yeah, you have to know that bracket.
I looked at the list and I'm like, okay, I know what to expect from this guy. I have an idea of what to expect from that guy here, that guy there. So I think it's useful. It's useful, and you can do it, you cannot do it. But if you do it, obviously, try to take advantage of it and then use it properly instead of being like, oh fuck, I hope I don't get this guy. Instead of thinking that way, like, all right, his game is XYZ. Here's what I can do to, play around with it. Here's what kind of strategy I'd like to incorporate, things that can help, can be good, bad. So yeah, I'll definitely check and look. But
basically like predictable reactions and things like that.
But I will not spend like my whole day looking at the whole bracket and who's against who and what he does and go YouTube him and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
There could be a degree of over obsessing that could possibly take you out of your element.
Yeah, if you push it in too much in one direction, it's like overtraining before a competition. It's very easy. You get hurt, boom, or you didn't train enough. Now you're gassing out. So you gotta find that sweet spot, that balance that works for you.
Did you go in hurt?
Are you ever 100% at a competition?
Never. No, never.
I had a little issue with. I don't know if anyone told you. I had like a little problem.
Shoulder issue.
Yeah, shoulder.
You mentioned.
Yeah, it's getting better. But whatever, man. It didn't stop me from competing. You know what I mean? It didn't really affect me during the match. You don't really feel much when you're competing.
Who do you think? Just changing topics completely. Who do you think has the best chance of beating Gordon right now, and how? I have my opinion.
Man, under what rule set?
That's another good question. Fuck it. Let's say IBJJF.
IBJJF, man, Gajo came very close. I don't see...
I think Kainan is the big...
And Kainan. Yeah. I was going to say Kainan.
Yeah.
I was going to say Kainan too. If you tell me ADCC, man, we can put a wrestler in there.
Yeah.
Wrestler, give him a bit of jits. You know what I mean?
Teach Pat Downey some leg locks.
Get him on the bomba for a couple of months. Get him a good some good GH therapy, and he's good to go, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see Gordon in the gi. I know it's probably never gonna happen, but I'd die to see that guy fight in the gi.
ADCC rule set. There's Galvao too. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a good match too.
Fuck,
man, Galvao in that last match, I've never seen him look so juiced. He looks so big, dude.
You get bigger just looking at him.
Yeah, like that guy was huge going into that match, and I was actually pretty shocked at how he handled Pena like that. That surprised me actually quite a bit.
Yeah, the pace he put up. I watched his match the day after I competed on the event.
Yeah,
and then you kind of feel like after X amount of time you start to fatigue or. You start to pick your shots. You kind of understand why some of the guys sometimes they're more conservative and they're playing patty cakes and they're waiting. You understand because you were in there like just a couple of hours ago. But Galvao, when I watched the amount of output, the amount of pushing, snapping, even just the snap it'll take out of you when you're competing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Well, one thing I noticed about watching ADCC is I'm like, this isn't your average grappling tournament in terms of, like, obviously the competitors are the best in the world, but, like, the aggressiveness and the physicality of it is a lot like fighting. It's not like your average jiu-jitsu tournament where it's, it's like people are super sportsmanlike and it's fair play. It's like, I'm gonna collar tie the shit out of you. I'm gonna try and get in your head and I'm gonna try and fucking hit you almost. I was like, man, that's a tough tournament. Like it looked so different from say like an IBJJF no-gi Worlds, just the amount of collar tying and snap downs and stuff.
Less restrictions with the rules too. You know what I mean? It opens up the game. It opens up the game to many different styles.
Yeah, it's highly known as the Olympics of grappling, right? So
you gonna be doing trials?
Am I going to be doing trials? Yeah, next year for sure. Man. My goal is I want to do Vegas. I want to do all 3 tournaments in Vegas like I did this year. I want to do the trials and I want to do No-Gi Worlds in December next year. So
No-Gi Worlds next year?
Yeah.
Okay. And Vegas, what is in Vegas?
So there's the Masters Worlds, but they also have Vegas Open Gi and No-Gi at adult. So
you like Vegas, huh?
I actually hate Vegas.
My man wants to go and gamble or what?
No, I fucking hate Vegas. But I like the idea of competing 3 days in a row, and I'm trying to get more people from the club to go down and do the trip. So
how nice is it to have your team when you compete?
With me? Oh, it's awesome. Like last time I had a bunch of guys there and Rob was there. And yeah, no, it's like you said, the quintet is kind of like having a team with you, right? And it's just, yeah, it's way better than going out on your own. I think going out there without a coach or whatever is way different for me. I don't know. What do you think?
Dude, I really enjoyed Nogi. We just the last week we had a lot of guys from the team come. Usually from Montreal we'd be like 2-3. We had like a whole crew, like 10-15
Yeah,
guys.
that's awesome, right? Like it's a aside from the jiu-jitsu part and the competition part, like you really do make some awesome friendships when you go travel with people and do jiu-jitsu. So
Exactly.
yeah, no, I can't wait to do it. Are you gonna do Vegas? Does that interest you at all?
Vegas.
It would be like Nogi Vegas Open. It's really not super prestigious if you think about it. But Masters Worlds is the same week, so I'm gonna do that because I'm old and I like to worm guard people.
Hey, when is that?
I think it's like August or something usually. It's in the summertime, I think.
Okay.
I'm
We
not
still have
sure.
some time,
Yeah.
I'll have to see what's around that time, you know what I mean? Depending on what comes up, maybe there's like a Polaris or there's some big comp coming up like Kasai or some big show, big promotion. Try to get on it for sure. But hey man, listen, if there's nothing else, I'll come meet you in Vegas. We'll come back here in BC, get some training after.
Fuck yeah.
Could be some good timing.
So, I mean, we're running out of time here, unfortunately. What is, like, right now in jiu-jitsu, what are you currently working on? Like, not like projects and stuff, but I mean, like, your day-to-day learning. Like, have you learned any positions or guards or is there anything new that's kind of blown your mind in the last year where you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, I like playing with this? Or
there's what's it called? Definitely been learning a lot on pressure passing, applying it, working on it. Try to apply it in competition. Now, did I try too hard one kind of passing? Yes, could have switched it up and went to loose, but that's definitely the one thing I'm working on right now. Pressure passing with the near side underhook, without the near side underhook. Working on passing half butterfly with pressure passing and things like that. That's definitely one thing that I've been working on a lot. It's been having success, and I try to use it against different styles. Like I was just at 10P, not too far from here.
Yeah,
and
Titan, Coquitlam.
Yeah, Titan. And you notice, like, okay, against a certain style, it works very well. Against a different style, you might run into different problems. So I'm playing around with it. I'm experimenting with different body types, with different styles.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm playing around with, man. That's definitely. Now that my next comp is also submission only, I'm taking more risks on top, I'm going for this, going for that.
Doesn't matter if you do a rolling Kimura and end up on the bottom or...
Not at all.
You drop back for a leg lock.
Not at all, man. Not at all. So I'm enjoying that, definitely, but I'll definitely keep working on all the body lock stuff and try to keep the main goal in mind, which is ADCC.
Yeah.
Try to keep working on that, and wrestling too. Been wrestling a lot. Since last time I came down, did so much wrestling.
Yeah, that's something that I really want to focus on for next year is oddly enough, two ends of the spectrum. On one end, in no-gi, I want to really focus on wrestling, and in my gi game, I want to focus on worm guard. Different.
What do you mean?
Different things.
They go hand in hand, man. They go hand in hand.
Actually, a lot of the lapel stuff ends with coming up on a single and stuff like that. It's really effective with the lapel, but yeah, I'm getting a lot out of that lapel encyclopedia right now. So thank you, Keenan, for that.
Make sure I don't roll with you in the game, man.
Yeah, man, put one on. I'd love to have you in the gi. It'd be fun.
Listen, some of my teammates will be competing in the gi because it's gi season. So I think in the new year, at least one session a week in the gi.
Cool.
At least.
Yeah.
Am I gonna pack a gi and travel? Hell no.
Because it takes up half the bag.
Literally, man.
It really does.
My little carry-on, I have a small carry-on, and I just roll things and just jam them in. And when you travel, like, guy will give you a shirt, guy will give you a hoodie, a souvenir from the gym.
Yeah.
Try to leave some space for that.
Yeah.
But man, you put a gi, get it. There's no room for souvenirs, man.
Yeah.
Family's not gonna be happy on Christmas.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to do gi.
So, well, we're almost out of time here. What is on the horizon for you in the next year? What's some of your goals? What do you want to accomplish?
Some of the goals, personal goals, definitely get back into competition mode a bit more. Competed twice this year, ADCC and Nogi Worlds. That's 2 in 12 months. Obviously, there was the rehab, and then I only got healthy around mid-August, September to compete. The next year, personally speaking, I definitely want to get in a lot more. Okay, get back into it, get in that rhythm. You know, put my game on the line, take a bit more risks, compete, try to take down some bigger names. Second half of the year, man, trials are starting again, so it's gonna come by very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Personally speaking, that's the goal. In terms of things that have been going on in Montreal, there's the studio where I teach. There's
Is that Mizu?
Mizu. There's Mizu. There's definitely the podcast. There's competition. Try to get some big names to come to Canada and make guys like you fucking give some exposure. I believe
Awesome.
You can do very good against very good guys. So one way to prove that is to fucking crush them. You know what I mean? So that's another thing I really want to get involved in. Try to bring some big names to the scene and have local guys crush them.
Cool.
And if it doesn't happen now, the more you expose people to that level, the closer you will get to it. So there's that. And then last but not least, man, try to stay alive, man. Try to stay healthy, try to stay injury free.
Yeah, that's always, for a professional athlete, especially someone who fights for a living, that's always, like every class that I teach and I'm healthy at the end, mopping the mats, I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God I got through another one. Getting old.
There's always going to be little bruises and everything, but you're in combat sports, man.
Yeah.
You have to expect these things to happen.
Totally. Yeah, it's to be expected. We chose this life, right? So,
100%.
Yeah. Do you got time for a few rapid fire questions?
Rapid fire, let's do it.
Okay, so these are meant to be short, one-word answers.
Let's do it.
Okay. What's your favorite alcohol?
Man, whiskey.
Do you have any allergies?
Ghee.
Oh yeah, I asked you this last time. Do you play any musical instruments?
Flute.
Really?
Yeah, but I haven't played in a long time. I do want to learn one though. I hear like it's good for your brain.
Yeah. Can you do a backflip?
No.
Me neither. Have you ever been in a street fight?
0.
Do you game?
What do you mean by game?
Like Xbox, PS4 or something like that?
Negative.
All right. Favorite musician?
Favorite musician? Biggie.
Oh.
Old school hip hop for life.
Yeah.
Boha.
Believe in Boha. I don't know if I asked you last time. You believe in God?
I believe in something, but maybe not everything that's written in Bible, Quran, whatever the case may be.
What about aliens?
Man, I don't know. If I listen to George long enough, maybe, but dude, there's a story about George, man. I'll tell you. I know.
I've heard some stuff.
Yeah, if he goes to when he goes to sleep, because he's paranoid about aliens abducting him. He'll put a foam roller at the door. So if somebody opens the door,
it stops it.
No, the foam roller will move. So when he wakes up, he'll be like, "Oh, somebody opened the door." I used the foam roller to.
You don't think they thought of that shit? All right. Maybe. So that's funny you bring up George, because the next question was, do you believe in dinosaurs?
I believe they were around, but not anymore.
Did we go to the moon?
Yeah.
Do you watch sports, like outside of combat sports?
Yes.
What's your favorite?
Football, soccer.
Football or soccer? You mean soccer?
Well, soccer, yeah.
Trump, yes or no?
Man. No. No. I hesitated.
What would your last meal be?
Sushi from BC.
Do you find that we have good sushi here?
Yeah, man. It's like decent price. It's not like that expensive.
Would young Helio be successful in today's competition at black belt level? A young Helio.
Young Helio, man, if he was smart enough to come up with jiu-jitsu, I'm sure he's smart enough to adapt to the game nowadays. So definitely yes.
Should they ban guard jumps in IBJJF?
Yes.
Should Kani Basami be allowed in IBJJF?
No. I think like a rolling...
like a Victor roll is okay.
Yeah. Victor roll is okay, but at black belt level, you can allow it.
I think so too. I think at black belt, everything should be allowed. Personally.
Just stay low, man. And then, like you saw like the match Edwin versus Gary.
Oh, so
Edwin could have avoided it. Just level change. You're rolling against Gary, literally the crazy monkey that jumps everywhere.
Yeah.
Hand level.
Well, as soon as he tied up, he had already started going for it, right?
But
Like he let him get an overhook on him.
Yeah, but Edwin was going for the triangle, so it was a matter of who's gonna fire it first.
Yeah,
Edwin was gonna go for the triangle. Gary just was like that fraction of a second.
It was kind of beautifully ironic that a guy like Edwin Najmi, who is so famous for his flying finishes, gets finished with a flying attack by Gary. Yeah, that was insane.
The venue was so loud when that happened. It was insanely loud. I was literally intimidated.
Dude, Gary's so sick. I love him.
Savage.
Almost done here. Will you ever look to focus in the gi? Like compete in the gi, make that a strong focus, or you're a no gi guy through and through.
After I win ADCC, why not?
Gracie self-defense, legit or corny?
Needs a bit of adjustment.
What is your biggest accomplishment?
Man, not being dead, I think. Biggest accomplishment?
Not being dead. That's pretty good.
Man, biggest accomplishment. Fuck. That's a good question, man. I don't know, man. I think just, you know.
I mean, you've won No-Gi Worlds.
I have. Oh, like credentially?
Well,
credential
just in your
speaking?
life. No, it doesn't have to be.
Oh, man. I don't know, man. Like, I think the biggest accomplishment is the amount of like setbacks I've had in so many different things is just to keep
coming back. That's awesome.
I think that's the one. Like, I don't know what impression people have of me or what image I portray, but like I said yesterday to one of my buddies, there's a lot more failures that happen to me than good things.
Yeah.
And I think biggest solution is just keep trying, keep looking for a way.
That's
you know.
Really good advice. Okay, one more question.
Yep.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Inverted heel hooks.
Shit. Nice. Ideally at ADCC in the finals.
Ideally, man.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
nice inverted, yeah.
Well, that's been fun. I mean, do you have any shout outs or anything you want to talk about?
Shout out to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure.
Once again, I'm looking forward to training and looking forward to fucking blowing it up and putting the scene here on the map more than what there's a potential for it to be as big as like South California, and like a city like New York. I believe really like BC has the potential to be one of the biggest places in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, well, we all thank you here from BC and really appreciate it. What about sponsors? You want to shout out some sponsors?
Scramble, for sure. Scramble Canada, Kimura Soap, Physiomentum, Roll Forever, Fight Game Series. I'm forgetting somebody for sure. That's about it, man. That's
awesome.
about it. If I forget anybody, death threats coming my way for sure.
All right. Well, I hope you guys really appreciated this chat. Enjoyed this chat. I really appreciate you being here, Oliver. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the lesson you're about to teach. And let's go train.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.